Hello, YouTube and Rumble community, and many thanks for joining this stream, this program, Morning News from Moscow. Today is 23rd of June, now it's 11 o'clock Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and hopefully you will find this episode informative and useful. And if so, dear friends, please don't forget to click that like button and to leave some commentary after the stream. It might help to reach a wider audience. Well, that's being said, let's go through some news straight away without any further delay. And obviously, I will start with the Middle Eastern crisis, which is threatening to transform into a world war if situation will not de-escalate. And obviously, we already know that U.S. conducted strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities while committing crime against humanity by doing so, not just against Iran, but against humanity, because strikes on nuclear facilities are never okay whatsoever, no matter whatever is the pretext. And Iran's foreign ministry already stated that while attacking Iran's nuclear facilities, U.S. Started a war against the republic. And I agree with this statement. U.S. started the war, although U.S. officials are trying to downgrade the importance of these strikes. And some officials, by the way, are stupid enough to say on air that strikes, they just strike Iran's nuclear facilities. It's if it's nothing, right? If it's not an act of war, which is crazy, but that's the level of intelligence on part of U.S. elites, I guess. Meanwhile, by the way, Iran's foreign minister arrived in Moscow yesterday late evening, and today he will have a meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And Abbas Araghchi, Iran's foreign minister, already stated that Iran attaches a great importance to consultations with Russia. Well, I was thinking about topics of conversation that might happen between Russian president and Iran's foreign minister, and I come up with the conclusion that maybe after what had happened in last 24 to 48 hours, nothing to be said about Israel's illegal actions against Iran. Tehran may actually propose Moscow to add some points to recently adopted or recently signed by leadership of two countries a strategical partnership agreement. And these additional points could be ones that will bring countries into military alliance, or we might see a mutual protection pact to be added on this strategical partnership agreement. I think this might be the topic of discussion between the two leaders, foreign minister of Iran and the Russian president, although other topics also are going to be discussed. I'm quite sure Russia will provide and already providing Iran with the necessary intelligence to be aware of developments around these countries, and Russia definitely has means to have a significant volume of information that most likely Iran's enemies want to hide, right? And I also think Russian leadership will recommend Iran to exercise restraint and to reassure Gulf states, reassure countries in a Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, others, Iraq, Oman, regional countries, basically, to reassure regional countries that Iran is not planning to attack U.S. Or their NATO bases that are located in these countries. This is very important because, as I said many times in my previous updates, I'm 100% convinced, by the way, that main goal of globalists and the neocons when it comes to these attacks on Iran is to provoke regional war that will last long enough so that Persian navigation in the Persian Gulf will be shut down for potentially years, and that way West will harm Chinese economy big time, and also force China to increase its level of dependence on Russian energy and energy from Central Asian republics up to critical one, which is definitely not something that Moscow or Beijing are looking for, because extreme dependence in anything creates tensions, right? And we don't want that. So therefore, obviously, Moscow and Beijing have a strategical interest to make sure that there will be no regional war in the Middle East. There will be no shutdown of the navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait. So therefore, I believe Russian side will consult Iran's foreign minister in optimal steps that Russia sees in this frame of avoiding potential regional war in the Persian Gulf, in the Middle East, and hopefully Iranian leadership will take in account Russian position, because obviously it is not in Iran's or anybody's interest in the region to end up in a full-scale war on a sectarian and their ethnic lines. Let's see, in a couple of hours' time, we will have some more information about meeting of Russian president and foreign minister of Iran. Let's see what additional information will come out from this meeting. TASS news agency is also reporting that, foreign minister of Iran, meanwhile, is stating that Tehran will continue enriching uranium for peaceful purposes, despite their attacks by Israel and US. And I have no doubts that Iran will maintain its scientific and engineering capabilities to do so, to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes. And I have no doubts, by the way, that Iran was not building atomic bombs. Otherwise, they would already had not just one, but probably a couple of dozens. Right? Iran was in a position to build atomic bombs some 20 years ago, according to experts, by the way, right? And they did not build even a single one. So there is no reason, there is no objective reason to doubt reports that we are receiving from Iran that they are not working on the building of atomic bombs. And they will maintain, excuse me, dear friends, that's quite annoying, but my apologies. And so, yes, Iran will continue working on its civilian nuclear program, and I'm quite sure they will succeed in that, despite all this aggression that they are facing right now from globalists, neocons, and Zionists. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that aide of Russian President Yuri Ushakov stated that contacts between Russia and United States on Iran continues. He did not went into details about these contacts, but I think this information itself, this short statement, worth our attention. Only question I have, what is the point of talking to any representative of US? I mean, US leadership discredited itself, right? Lustrated itself. So much so that hardly anybody in this world, by the way, even diehard Trump supporters, hardly even they doubt that Trump cannot be trusted. Trump or anybody from his team, right? They are absolutely discredited, and therefore, if somebody will call from Washington, in Kremlin or from White House, someone here probably will answer. But if anybody in Russian leadership still thinks that U.S. leadership or leadership of any Western country or any country from the collective West, for that matter, can be trusted, then I don't know, man, we are in trouble. Hopefully no one in Russian leadership has any illusions in regards to Western so-called elites, right? You can talk to them if it's necessary, but you can never trust them on anything, period. So yes, I guess there is some contacts in a place, but I hope Russia will downgrade as much as possible any contacts with the collective West. And I believe, and as I said about it many times in previous updates, best way forward for humanity is to isolate collective West as much as possible, politically isolate collective West. Just leave door open for potential migrants from collective West countries that might want to flee these territories that are controlled by genocidal maniacs, criminals, and all sorts of human scum. And that's about it, right? Collective West should be isolated from the rest of the world, because collective West, Western ruling class, Western elites pose existential threat for humanity, and they prove it, by the way. I'm not saying something that is controversial. Western ruling class already proved this many times, right? And continues to do so right now as we speak. And well, meanwhile, one of the representatives of these genocidal creatures in charge of collective West, so-called State Secretary of US, in reality Israeli whore and whore of neocons, Marco Rubio, is unhappy that Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, is come to Moscow instead of begging US for mercy, sort of these delusional freaking animals, man. That's how it is. And dear friends, if you don't like that, I completely disrespect Western so-called elites, then go watch CNN. That's or Fox News, by the way. I mean, they adore all these freaking criminals that are in charge of, at least formally, of the US, right? And the rest of the collective Western countries. I don't give a damn about political correctness. Marco Rubio is a freaking animal, dirty, rabid animal, and should be dealt as rabid animals usually are, right? Always. Not usually, but always are dealt. That's it, man. Enough of these freaking games, man. These are enemies of humanity and should be put to the sleep forever. But statement from Rubio is that U.S. Secretary of State and acting assistant to the U.S. President for National Security Affairs, Marco Rubio, expressed dissatisfaction with the fact that Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is going to meet with the Russian leadership and not with the Washington's emissaries. I mean, yet again, these psychos, I mean, this scum of humanity that is in charge of Western world, including US, by the way, still thinks that there is any point to talk to them. I mean, how degenerated these creatures are, really, that after what they did and after how they acted, they still believe that there is any point to talk to them for anybody. By the way, I mean, US citizens are in deep trouble. I mean, in deep trouble. I know many millions of Americans have hope that maybe this administration will truly be America first and will care about US citizens, but they were wrong, by the way. They were wrong, and I was correct when I was saying and continue to say that even theoretically there is not a slight chance even that US citizens will manage to reclaim their own country and their own destiny and gain control over their own destiny. No. System in US is built in such a way that US citizens just have no say whatsoever, no matter what kind of shows neocons, Zionists, globalists gonna create for them on the name of presidential elections or elections in Congress, Senate, or regional ones in the states. This is all show, right? But US citizens have no say in anything whatsoever, period. And that's not gonna change until US, modern day US, continues to exist. That's how it is. And so, yes, Rubio is unhappy. Can you imagine? Unbelievable, man. What a morons these creatures are, man. Meanwhile, the world continues to condemn criminal actions of the US in regards to Iran. Russia, among leading countries in this world, strongly condemns US attacks on nuclear facilities in Iran. This is Foreign Ministry's statements. And the ministry also adds UN Security Council must respond to these strikes and respond strongly. And Moscow awaiting response from International Atomic Energy Agency also on the damage that was done to nuclear non-proliferation regime. And by the way, I remind you that while attacking member of this treaty, non-proliferation treaty, US basically killed this treaty. And that's about it. I don't think IAEA's existence has any meaning right now, and I don't think non-proliferation regime has any meaning left. It's all nonsense, right? Because if one country like US can disobey everything related to these treaties and their organization, then everyone else can, right? US is definitely not exceptional in any way, shape, or form. It's a disgrace of humanity, right? US, modern US, United States, is a disgrace of humanity and existential threat for humanity. That's the truth, right? And I don't care if US citizens don't like to face this reality. I mean, this is just the truth. And facts don't really care would we like them or not. It is what it is. RIA Novosti is also reporting that China is accusing US of destabilizing Middle East. Also strongly condemns these criminal actions of US leadership, and also UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned the recent US military strike on Iran. Well, understandable statements, even though all these creatures, by the way, that are formally leading these international organizations are on the payroll of either Mossad or CIA or MI6 or all of them. They are, after all, time to time, at least, they are forced to basically say the truth, because if they say otherwise, if they say what Washington wants to hear or Israel leadership or London, then they will have to, because this is formally at least international organizations, they have to come up with the factual evidences, and they don't have it, right? And that's why Rafael Grossi, IAEA director, was forced basically to say that Iran was not working on a military nuclear program. Because if he would agree with US leadership and Israel leadership that Iran does works on military nuclear program, then UN members will demand factual evidences. I mean, give us what you have. Where is the proof, right? And IAEA don't have such a proof, even though IAEA experts were visiting every single freaking nuclear facility on Iran's territory. And they know perfectly well that Iran does not work on military nuclear program. And also Rubio, again, by the way, TASS News Agency is reporting that US State Secretary, so-called Israeli whore and whore of neocons, allegedly are ready to return to talks with Iran. And as soon as tomorrow, unbelievable, man, unbelievable. World is effed up, man. Either we're gonna isolate collective West and minimize all the dangers, all the risks that West is generating, or we all are finished, by the way, because eventually they're gonna provoke a full-scale nuclear exchange between major nuclear powers. That's what they're gonna do, by the way. Either we will deal with the Western so-called elites and neutralize them and all the threats that they are generating, or we all are done, man. And by we, I mean all of humanity. That's how effed up situation is right now. And it's gonna get it's gonna get much worse, by the way. This is just the beginning, right? So United States is ready to return to negotiations with Iran tomorrow. This was stated by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And the question is, I mean, what is the point? Once again, after what they did, Rubio, Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, Hexet, and the rest of them, after they lied to their teeth, right? And they continue to lie, literally constantly. Then what is the point to talk to them? About what? About Andromeda galaxy that is about to crash with our galaxy, maybe in 2 billion years from now? What about we should talk to these creatures that are formerly in charge of US? Whether in very same Andromeda galaxy, what is the point to talk to these morons that cannot be trusted even for a second? I don't know. I mean, they should be, removed from office. I mean, Trump should be impeached. That's for US. This is the only way, by the way, to have any hope, at least some hope, that that administration there will be perceived at least by some people as someone that with whom you can have at least conversation, because the current administration is finished for sure. By the way, you have to be stupid. I mean, extremely stupid to talk to these fucking morons and to trust them. It is what it is, man. Like it or not, but it's just true, right? And the very same mentally ill rabid animal, Marco Rubio, while on one hand, by the way, he's saying that Washington is ready for negotiations. On the other hand, by the way, he's saying that they're going to be regime change in Iran. So this mentally ill rabid animal, appointed as a secretary of their state in US, is threatening Iran with regime change, as if these scumbags are destined, or if someone appointed these scumbags out of this world to decide which countries should have nuclear energy, which countries should not. Who are they, man? Who are these scumbags, for God's sake? Who tell them that they have to decide? How long are humanity gonna take this crap, man? Let's deal with these animals, for God's sake, for once and for all. I mean, enough is enough, for God's sake, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. I cannot comment seriously these motherfuckers, man. Sorry for my French, but dear friends, it's crazy. How you expect me to talk about Marco Rubio with any respect, man? It's not happening. It cannot be, right? Because you cannot respect this creature. This criminal should be in jail for life, right? For endangering millions and millions of people worldwide. That's exactly what they did while together with Israelis while attacking nuclear facilities, man. There is no way around it. And it's not just this idiot, Donald Trump, another whore of Israel, and so-called president of US, also posted about regime change in Iran. His post is, it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why would not there be a regime change? He is asking. I don't know, man. This is and then he's posting like meager, make Israel great again. I mean, I have no words, man. I'm just giving you this news, and you deal with it, dear friends. It's crazy. It's crazy. And why this element, why this creature, Donald Trump, is using this primitive language post constantly? Does he has like 2 or 3 brain cells, or he only has like 1 brain cell, like amoeba does? Why he is only using this primitive language? With whom he is talking to? To whom he wants to send these messages, man? To amebas? I don't know, man. TASS news agency is reporting that U.S., as I reported yesterday, too, U.S. braces for possible Iranian retaliatory strike on U.S. targets. Most likely, they're gonna be direct attack from Iran on U.S. assets. Definitely not in the Gulf states. Definitely not on the territory of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, others, and not a direct one, because it would be counterproductive for Iran. And I'm quite sure today Abbas Araghchi and the Iranian delegation will receive all the necessary intelligence from Russian side, from Russian friends. And hopefully decision-making process will be by Tehran will be conducted in such a way that region will win and Zionists, neocons, and globalists will lose. In no circumstances we can allow, and humanity, we can allow our enemies that are in charge of the so-called collective West to provoke regional war in the Middle East. We just cannot allow this to happen. So therefore, because I believe Iran will not directly attack U.S. assets in terms of military reaction, military retaliation, I think there is an increased probability that Israeli, U.S. Secret Services, British Secret Services, some others will come up with some false flag operations, either in the Middle East against very countries that I mentioned, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, or others, maybe against U.S. assets on territories of these countries, maybe even on U.S. soil, by the way. There is a big risk that these terrorist regimes in Israel, in U.S., in UK, they will orchestrate false flag operations to drag not just U.S. in further war against Iran, in further escalation, but also regional countries, because that's what globalists want, by the way. That's what globalists want. They want regional war in the Middle East on our ethnic and sectarian lines to shut down navigation, to create basically a situation when navigation in the Persian Gulf, safe navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait would not be possible. That's their main goal right now in regards to the Middle East. And I said in previous updates that this is just a part of the plan. Why the plan, which is against China and Russia and global South and emerging multipolar world. This is just one segment of that plan that collective West is adopting, right? So we should keep that in mind. And if something happens, by the way, to U.S. assets, either outside of U.S. or on U.S. soil, if these Middle Eastern countries are attacked and then Iran is blamed, we would all know that this is a false flag operation, because if Iran will take action, they will say about it. And I think it will be a wise decision not to help enemies, and therefore to not retaliate militarily, to use diplomatic possibilities to basically deal with this axis of evil that collective West is right now. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament approved the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and final decision is on Iran's supreme leader. And I think they're going to be no closure of Hormuz Strait. There was rumors on the internet that Iran might allow vessels that are directed to China to move freely, but they will block, and to other countries, but they will block vessels that are directed towards Europe. Technically speaking, that can be done, but I don't think Iran will do this, because yet again that will give an upper hand, that will help enemies of Iran and enemies of humanity to further intensify military operations in the region, right? So therefore, I think Parliament in Iran did authorize closure of the Strait of Hormuz, but Supreme Leader of Iran and other institutions that have to make final decision, probably they will exercise restraint and don't go in that direction. That would be wise, in my opinion. RIA Novosti is also reporting that even talks about closure of Hormuz Strait and on this military escalation that we are seeing right now is enough to influence oil prices on the world market. And for example, Brent crude price exceeded $80. This is the first time since January, and this is just the beginning. Obviously, this is just the beginning. If Western ruling class will succeed with the provoking regional war in the Middle East on the sectarian and ethnic lines, and if they will succeed in shutting down navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, then oil price is going to go all the way up to $200, maybe more, by the way, because on daily basis, 15-20 million barrels of oil, by the way, are transported from Persian Gulf to the world economy, right? A lot of oil. And if this major energy route is shut down, then obviously that's going to be a hit not just on China, but on the world economy, and on such a scale that I don't know. I'm not sure Western countries will survive that. Western ruling class is so detached from reality that maybe they think they have a strict control over their people in the West. They have brainwashed them, right? And no one gonna do nothing. But things are changing, and they might actually find out hard way that people in the West, at least some parts of society are already awakened, and many others might, if they will see that their livelihoods being endangered by these so-called elites in the West. And they're going to feel it, by the way. They're going to feel it. Only like multimillionaires and multi-billionaires would probably don't care, but ordinary people like us, we will all feel, right? Countries that are energy rich will be less vulnerable. Countries that are, not that lucky, they're gonna feel it big time, especially in Europe, by the way. Right? So yes, oil prices are increasing, and the former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, listed Trump's achievements after bombing Iran. And let me give you a few key points from his statement. Iran's enrichment will continue. U.S. drawn into new conflict with the prospect of ground up, which is a possibility. And if U.S. will dare to send its ground troops, by the way, to Iran, well, that's definitely going to be beginning of the end of U.S. I said it before, isn't it? Iranian people going to decimate invading forces, literally decimate. So, and Medvedev also said absolute majority of the countries against actions of Israel and US, obviously, vast majority of humanity is against actions of the collective West, these genocidal maniacs, and they're scum of humanity. Let's be real, by the way. You cannot have no respect for anybody from Western so-called elites or ruling class. They all are scumbags. They all are disgrace of humanity and cannot be respected by anybody. If you have any dignity, you cannot have respect for those animals, man. That's how it is. Right? That's how I see the things. Trump, who came as a peacemaker president, started the new war for US, Medvedev said, which is true. And he also added that there are countries ready to directly supply Iran with their nuclear weapons. And I think this is something that needs to be paid attention to, because this is a big deal, isn't it? We are talking about former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, who is saying that there are countries ready to directly supply Iran with their nuclear weapons. And, well, I don't know what he means. Which countries? Is it Pakistan? Is it China? Is it Russia? I don't think he meant India, because Indian leadership is, not that clear about its stance. And one may argue that India is in support of Israel and US criminal actions, unfortunately, but well, there is 3 other countries that, no, maybe 4th one, by the way, North Korea. Yes, I almost forget about North Korea, that also has nukes. And North Korea has bilateral military protection pact with Russia. So it's not going to be that easy for anybody to mess with North Korea, as they are doing now with Iran. And this is, strong warning. This is a very strong warning from Medvedev that should be taken very seriously, because in case Iran is this escalation continues, and in case globalists, Zionists, neocons send U.S. troops and other troops from other NATO countries directly into Iran, in case they will conduct nuclear attack on Iran, and I remind you, dear friends, that according to media reports, U.S. leadership was actually considering deploying tactical nuclear weapon to destroy Fordo nuclear facility. And maybe they still continue to emphasize, to exercise that idea, because reports are that these strikes with bunker busting bombs were not that successful, really, right? But anyways, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council is very clear that there are countries in this world, not just one country, but countries ready to directly supply Iran with their nuclear weapons. And you cannot warn nobody any further than this, right? Basically, what Medvedev is saying, you continue with mess with their situation, and you will find out, you're gonna get nuked. That's what it is. And so let's see. We can obviously hope for de-escalation in the Middle East, but unfortunately, we all know that globalists, Western ruling class, have no reverse gear, neither Zionists, and so they will continue to de-escalate Middle East, maybe for different reasons, but they are on the same page, right? These quite influential groups like globalists, neocons, Zionists, and therefore the rest of the world should be prepared to defend itself, because Israel, or the collective West, Israel is part of which, is attacking not just Iran, by the way, and people of Iran. They are attacking all of us. They are on offensive against humanity. Western world, collective West, or the leadership of collective West, elites and influential forces, they are on offensive against humanity. And we have to protect ourselves by any means necessary, including nuclear option, as Medvedev mentioned in his comment about these developments. And dear friends, let me give you a few more news on some other topics. Russian armed forces liberated Budova and Petroska settlements. Petrovska is in the Kharkov region, Budova is in Donetsk People's Republic, and reports are coming in right now before I start this live stream. There was reports about more settlements being liberated. So special military operation continues and progress of the Russian armed forces continues. Also, interesting news that Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba intends to withdraw from planned participation in the NATO summit. Japanese media reports about it, and the reason for decision is not being given. Although we already know that earlier South Korean President Lee Jae-myung also refused to participate in the summit. So this is a quite interesting coincidence, maybe, or who knows? Something else is happening, and leadership of Japan and South Korea are realizing that they're gonna get smashed if they stay on the same boat with their Western ruling class, globalists, neocons, and so on. And maybe they're trying to send a message to the rest of the world, to emerging multipolar world, that they are open for integration, and they don't want to be seen as a asset of the globalists in the region. Maybe that's what is happening, or maybe this is just coincidence, and two leaders of two countries in Pacific suddenly felt bad, due to health issues, and they are just missing their meeting. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe this is a message to emerging multipolar world that they are ready for cooperation and potential integration. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that Russia plans to abolish visas with 3 countries in 2025, and these countries are Myanmar, Jordan, and Bahrain. So, okay, I guess soon citizens of these countries will have an opportunity to travel to Russia, see what Russia can offer visa-free. That will be good, by the way, for tourism industry. That will be good for businesses of the countries. So, okay, why not? Also, I shared this information yesterday during the live stream, but some live streams are watched by one part of community, others by other part. Therefore, I think this information worth to be highlighted once again, that during the recent St. Petersburg's International Economic Forum, in which delegations from 144 countries participated, agreements were reached worth 6.3 trillion ruble, by the way. Agreements between the countries, between the businesses from different countries from all over the world. And this 6.3 trillion rubles is $70 billion. So in a couple of days that this forum lasted, agreements were reached between the businesses and countries for $70 billion, which is a quite good result, I will say. First of all, because more and more businesses are cooperating, more and more countries, and secondly, because it will benefit this agreement will benefit Russia, and most importantly, by the way, this information demonstrates who is isolated, really. Russia, as Western so-called elites were dreaming about, or it's the Western world, by the way, this collective West, that is being step by step but isolated, rightfully so. You be the judge. But, delegations from 144 countries, that's quite impressive. And the agreements for $70 billion also not bad, I will say. And this is it for a news segment, dear friends. Let me right now check for any breaking news. So smoke rises from IDF Navy base city Ashdod after Iran fires missiles. This was reported by RT and a number of other media outlets. and videos are circulating of this strike. Also, IDF admits a radar failure let an Iranian missile hit Haifa, while there was no air warning in the city. Russia and China speak for themselves. Zakharova unloads on official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, unloads on Vance, J.D. Vance, Vice President of US, for claiming they don't want Iran to develop nuclear weapons. Anyone speaking on behalf of two countries better start with not supplying Kiev terrorist regime with deadly missiles, not militarizing Taiwan. Zakharova said, okay. What else is happening? Well, more videos are circulating about this missile strike on Ashdod. Quite significant damage, although from this video, difficult to say what exactly was targeted. Iran to suspend cooperation with IAEA. Iranian parliament speaker Kalibaf stated, not surprises there, by the way. IAEA deserves no respect, obviously. Head of IAEA, Rafael Grossi, deserves no respect. He's an Israeli asset, right? He's asset of Mossad and asset of CIA, MI6. He definitely don't work for UN or the humanity. He works for his masters. And I can understand why would Iran dismiss this organization that basically acted as helped Israel and US to set up, right, their bombing campaigns, even though they didn't say directly that Iran has a military nuclear program, but they were making statements in IAEA that needed clarification. Statements were so unprofessional that they were used then by Israel and still is used by Israel and US as a sort of justification for their illegal criminal attacks on Iran. And so yes, that's about it, dear friends. No other breaking news for now. Let's see how will news develop during the day, and if necessary, either I will have second news update on my Patreon page, or maybe I will do a second news update. I don't know. Let's see how day goes. And dear friends, before I end this live stream, let me just remind you that if you like my work, dear friends, if you are here to see perspective from a Russian citizen journalist, how I see the things, and if I see developments in a certain way with my 30 years of experience in journalism, then I guess many more people here in Russia see developments in the same way. So if you are here from a perspective from Russia, if you like my work, and if you want to see further development of this project, please consider to support, because without your assistance, I wouldn't be able to maintain this project much longer. You can support by subscribing to my Patreon page. By the way, it's a monthly subscription. You can choose your level of support from $5 to, I don't know, 10, 20, 50, and maybe 100 at once. At one point, surprisingly, I had $200 subscribers and few $50 subscribers on Patreon. And then when I started, when this escalation began in the Middle East, when Israel started committing genocide against Palestinians, and when I expressed my take on the situation, I knew I'm going to lose support, right, from certain groups of people. But nevertheless, I had to say what I had to say. I promised that I'm going to be true, right, real. And that's exactly what happened. Maybe that was coincidence, but all these big supporters from Patreon disappeared. But still, I'm grateful for those number of months that they were supporting. When I because I'm critical of Trump after he insulted Russian citizens, by the way, a couple of weeks ago, and Russia and Russian leadership. After that, I just stopped giving even a chance to Trump and his administration. I become very critical of them for reasons, right? Before that, for a couple of weeks, I was mistaken that maybe there is a chance for the escalation, but no, and Trump proved, by the way, Trump himself proved that my initial instinct was correct, and he cannot be trusted, and no one in the leadership of US can be trusted. So it's all clear now. But yes, I mean, because of the criticism of Trump, well, Trump supporters left their Patreon, and because I'm not a neo-lib, liberals don't like what I have to say. So I don't know. Only hope this project has, and I have, is that this project will be supported in my work by people that just want to hear true opinion and true reaction from and news from Russian citizen, from Russian perspective, pro-Russian perspective, let's say, right? And yes, let's see how things go, dear friends. If you want to support, you can do it. You can subscribe to Patreon, as I said. Same is Boosty platform. I mean, you can choose between them, and you can send donation through what is that, PayPal or Boosty, by the way. Yeah, and there is also always during the live stream possibility to donate while using sticker or super chat on Rumble, right? So yes, this is it for now. All the links for supporter will be under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Have a peaceful day, dear friends. Have a successful week, and take care. Bye for now.